strike!
Tell me something I don't know, Ump.
Well, unlike that nasty curveball, there aren't any surprises when you finance your next car with Carvana. You get real terms personalized for you right in your strike zone.
Really?
Steady right!
How am I supposed to focus when you're telling me about Carvana?
Well, Slugger, you gotta keep your eye on the ball. Just like you can keep an eye on your customized down and monthly car payments.
I can customize those?
He's out and on his way to finance his next car with Carvana.
Visit Carvana.com or download the app to get pre-qualified today. We'll drive you happy at Carvana.
On today's Smart 7, Rishi struggles with Boris, Ron DeSantis has tech issues and lots more. It's Thursday the 25th of May, it's Towel Day, and happy birthday Ian McKellen.
The Smart 7. It's news, but
Not the news. Wednesday was not a great day for Rishi Sunak again. He was politically embarrassed by a row over the latest Boris Johnson Partygate revelations, which suggest up to a dozen more pandemic-era events need investigating. And it turns out we've been paying for Boris's lawyers, and now he wants new ones as he rows with the Privileges Committee and the Cabinet Office. Labour MP Carl Turner wanted to know why the public have paid over £250,000 for the newly minted millionaire's legal fees. Rishi says it's all standard practice.
It's actually a long-established process that former ministers are supported with legal representation to deal with matters that relate to their time in office.
But Labour's Annalise Dodds wasn't convinced, and she's not sure Rishi's in charge of his party at all.
This is a case where Rishi Sunak just seems to be too weak to stand up to interests in his party. This is just yet another case where Rishi Sunak needs to get a grip.
Speaking of Suella, Rishi ducked that decision too, declining to report her to his ethics advisor and letting her off the hook over her speeding fine fiasco. That didn't impress Labour's Angela Eagle.
I mean, I would rather see her sacked for being completely incompetent and useless at her job. But there is here a kind of pattern of ministers thinking that the laws don't apply to them.
Would you like the good news or the bad news? OK, the good news is the rate of inflation's dropped by 8%. The bad news is that food prices are still sky high. The cost of kitchen staples like sugar, milk and pasta continue to surge at the fastest rate in nearly 45 years in April, with Chancellor Jeremy Hunt warning we've a long way to go.
These numbers show there is absolutely no room for complacency in the battle against inflation. Food price inflation is still worryingly high.
The chief exec of the Food and Drink Federation, Karen Betts, says she believes the sector's doing an enormous amount to cut back on costs to fight against soaring food prices. Speaking on BBC Today, she insisted that prices going up is the last resort. But Labour's Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves is pointing the finger at the UK's Brexit deal.
There are many things about the current deal that is not working well enough for businesses and investors, and as a result is shortchanging us as a national economy.
Russian MP Mikhail Mishustin has been in China talking with President Xi Jinping about the alleged hostility from the West. Mishustin stressed the importance of the two countries' deepening cooperation in a bid to enrich the lives of citizens for generations to come.
Our countries together are resisting attempts by the collective West to maintain global dominance. I am confident that Russia and China will give a resolute response to these dangerous aspirations and create favourable conditions for confident progress towards our common strategic goals.
Meanwhile, Russia's announced that it's to put 3 British men on trial for terrorism charges relating to their fighting for Ukraine against Russia. The men aren't actually in Russia, they were released as part of prisoner swap. And as Russia's military anxiously waits for the Ukrainian counter-offensive, former director of the CIA General David Petraeus says the whole Ukraine war's been a massive miscalculation by Vladimir Putin.
Putin set out to make Russia great again. What he's really done is make NATO great again. And then the other irony is, of course, that no one has done more for Ukrainian nationalism as has Vladimir Putin.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has announced that he's joining the race to become the Republican nominee for president. He made the announcement on a live Twitter space with CEO Elon Musk, but it was plagued with technical issues.
All right, well, it's certainly an incredible honor to have Governor DeSantis make this stark announcement.
Donald Trump remains the current frontrunner in the race for the nomination, and he's polling almost 40% ahead of DeSantis, who he refers to as Ron DeSanctimonious. After technical delays, Ron was able to make his case, which includes defunding federal agencies, rejecting woke ideology, and shaking up what he says is a failing America.
Buckle up when I get in there, because the status quo is not acceptable, and we are going to make sure that we reconstitutionalize this government.
Still to come on the Smart 7, Dara O'Brien chats podcasts and tributes to a musical giant. Right after this.
Are you someone who tries to drive while distracted by your phone? Someone who props it up on the steering wheel or peeks down at it for a glance? Or just scrolls and scrolls? If so, you could be the next person to get into a fender bender, get a ticket, veer off the road, or even cause a crash that kills you or someone else. Enough with the phones already. Put them down and pay attention, or pay the price. You drive, you text, you pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
Welcome back.
There was one Premier League game on Wednesday as Brighton hosted champions Man City. Brighton have already secured European football for next season, but they were still hoping to get a few more points in the bag. And, well, they succeeded, managing a 1-1 draw with City, which gave them one more point and secured Europa League football. Brighton coach Roberto was typically modest about his success.
I think we played very well. We deserved to make a point. We deserve to play in Europa League. We didn't lose our style to press Man City man-to-man in every side on the pitch. I think it's courage.
The podcast show kicked off in London on Wednesday and continues today with big names and presentations on the future of the audio business. One man who's totally at home in the world of podcasts is former Mock the Week host Dara O'Brien. He's the host of the panel podcast Time Wasters, in which comedians spill some truths about the biggest regrets in their life. He popped up on the One Show and says it can take some twists and turns.
Because it's comics, so they can all do the funny stuff, but when you ask them, what have you wasted months and years of your life to, sometimes it actually gets into relationships they shouldn't have had, major life choices, and you find yourself as the person hosting going, I'm just going to have to respect that. That was a bad decision. You shouldn't have done that drama degree. That was a terrible thing to have done.
Tina Turner, the Queen of Rock and Roll, has died at the age of 83. She'd been ill for some time and passed away peacefully in her Swiss home. Tributes have flooded in from across the globe from Mick Jagger, Gloria Gaynor, Naomi Campbell and many more. She was truly an icon, not just as a singer, also acting in Mad Max and writing a memoir that became a hit movie with Angela Bassett. She performed at the Grammys in 2008 with Beyoncé and had just recently made a documentary for Sky called simply Tina. Rest in peace.
I'm a girl from a cotton field that put myself above the destruction and the mistakes. And I'm here for you.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.